Come on. There we go. I think Facebook's asleep tonight. The heat's obviously getting to Facebook as well as everybody else. Yeah, it's been a very warm day, and I've just been out in it, thank God, because I've been working indoors most of the day. So to get out and actually do and breathe, because when you're stuck indoors all day in this heat, it's hard to breathe. I can tell you that. So tonight, I want to welcome anybody who's actually not outside and inside watching this, and if you're watching it later on as well, of course. I welcome to my 80-second weekly 10 show, and tonight I'm talking about adapting to change successfully. Okay. If you watch your show on YouTube, because it's downloaded on YouTube after it's live, then subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, and you can catch all my shows anytime you want. And like I said, also I've got my podcast show coming, new podcasts coming every month, as of later this month. So if you want to catch that as well, subscribe and you will catch all of my shows as they come. Okay, and I'm also available for one-to-one coaching still, and speaking events, live speaking events around the topics of my book, To Hell and Back, and then some, which is out, hopefully, touch wood, in December. Okay, straight into what we're going to talk about tonight. So the newcomers to watching this or might not know my story, but I mean, people who are familiar with me will do, but a lot of people won't. So people often ask me how I coped with the sudden loss of my family whilst I was serving a prison sentence for something I hadn't done. And I'm not going to go into that story. You can check that out somewhere else. But basically, my father had a cardiac arrest when I was 3 months after my mother had passed. And I was on the phone to him at the time. And he died as I was talking to him. And it was a catalyst for a lot of, it's like I lost basically 31 people, animals, things that I loved out of my life in 1 year. So it was very, very tough time. So a lot of people do ask me, how did you manage that? How did you cope with that? The situation I was faced with at that time. It's normal to think that would just break you, and it's of course it would. I mean, it's very hard to deal with that sort of stuff. But I had to be focused. It was easy to just fall apart and allow my emotions to take hold and just break. That would have been the easy thing to do. But I knew that I had to keep my head together and be focused and to get myself out of prison for one. But not just that. In the short term, I had to arrange the funerals. I had to sell the family home. I had to do help rehome the family cats, all of this sort of stuff, and I had no money. I had literally no money at the time, because when I was on the phone to my father, one of the things we were actually talking about is him sending me some money in. Well, that was what we were meant to be talking about before that happened. But so I was in a situation where I didn't have enough money to even make a phone call to somebody, and I've just lost my father. And I now have to focus and sort all this stuff out. So falling apart was not an option for me right there and then. And although the emotional aspect of that is obviously overwhelming, but I couldn't allow that to happen. So it's normal to feel, emotional response, reaction, whenever something happens. It doesn't have to be something as dramatic as what I was going through, but something that triggers us into some sort of stress, and we then hit rock bottom and see everything from the vision of either victimization or conflict or things like that. So, and that can stop us then seeing clearly and constructively and doing things that actually move me forward. So I had to become aware of my thoughts. I had to become aware of my emotions, and in order to actually control those, and that meant focusing only on that current moment, free from anything that was distracting my thoughts and emotions, such as, the very real situation I was in, serving a life sentence, no release date, and just lost all my family. So how do you deal with that? You have to deal with it in a way which works for you in that moment, because I knew at the moment if I'd have broke down, I would have, never have got out of prison for one. So I had to be focused, not just for that day, for consistently. So I had to block the emotions off in some way. So I accepted what happened. And I needed to be objective and present in that moment in order to make conscious choices that actually work for me and move me forward and help me get through that. I mean, in the short term, just something as simple as getting some bloody money into the prison. And, you know, I had no one to talk to call, and I had to arrange a funeral. So it was a nightmare situation, but, you know, these are the things you've got to focus on. So if I'm focusing on the loss side of things, how likely is it would I have been able to control or manage that situation in a constructive way? I wouldn't have. So, like I said, I blocked my emotions off. I buried them. I did this by focusing only on what I could actually do in that moment and not thinking about anything else. You know, nothing else. Literally nothing else. I was in the moment. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow. I wasn't thinking about next week. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was thinking just about that moment. What can I do right now? And that's what I did at the time. Of course, doing this, however, created problems for me later on. Because by burying my emotions, what I did do is I buried them so deep that I forgot what it felt like to actually feel emotional. You know, I couldn't feel love anymore. I could look at a picture of my cats who I love to bits and not feel a thing. Or my parents even, obviously. And it was very hard for a long time because I buried emotions so deeply. And that led to me dealing with a lot of stress, whether it's post-traumatic stress or not, I don't know. But a lot of stress and burden, emotional burden later on, mental and emotional burden later on, which I then had to go on and unpack and deal with. And all the thoughts of guilt, blame, frustration. What could I have done? It was my fault that I was in there. All of these things. So they go through and they create a situation which just keeps you in a terrible place mentally. So, you know, that was a struggle. I had to deal with that and it wasn't easy. And had I done it a lot sooner, it would have been a lot easier to confront those feelings and emotions rather than burying them for so long and then having to dig them all up again. You know, so it wasn't an easy situation to go through in terms of that. So had I known what I know now, however, I would have still done the same thing. However, I would have chosen to consciously switch my emotions off rather than unconsciously. Now, the difference is by choosing to do something consciously, you retain the power over it. That means I would have had the power to deal with those emotions much sooner than when I did do. Meaning I could have confronted them and dealt with them and accepted it a lot sooner because it took me a long time to accept myself and my role in all of this and stuff like that. So that was a big hurdle to get over. So had I done that sooner, I would have been in a much more stronger position in order to deal with emotions earlier rather than just burying them and hoping, you know, to get through life okay without dealing with that sort of stuff. You don't. You have to deal with your emotions and anything that you've buried. Otherwise, you're going to just keep yourself stood still, not move forward or even move backwards. So, yeah. So, now when change occurs and I want to navigate through something successfully, and this is again, nothing doesn't have to be something drastic. It could be something normal. I simply have to have faith in the process and tell myself, trust the process. That's what I do now. So I don't focus on the future. I don't think about the past. I don't worry about things like that. Just recognizing that everything is happening for a reason. So it doesn't matter what the change is, whether it's a good thing or a negative thing or whatever. I always see it the same way. Everything is happening for the same reason and everything is moving in the right direction. Just because the reason isn't clear necessarily right now doesn't mean that there isn't one. I mean, like, listen, when you lose your family in prison, there's no obvious reason why that happens. Having looked back on that, don't get me wrong, I obviously don't want that to happen, but you've got to make the best of life and the situations that you're presented with. And had I not gone through that situation in the way I did, I wouldn't be sitting here now happy, fulfilled, doing a job that I'm absolutely passionate about. No way would I be doing that. So everything happens for a reason. So whether you like that reason or not, it happens for a reason. You've just got to accept that. So by remaining adaptable and flexible, you change. You literally create everything. You know, through change, you can create it as it comes, sort of thing. So you're not at the whim of it. You're in control of it. So you're focusing not on the problems you're facing, but instead you're focusing on the opportunities, the possibilities that are available to you, the things that you wouldn't have seen. Like again, in this situation, it's easy to focus on the loss. That would have been the easiest thing to do. Instead, I had to focus on the opportunity. What was the opportunity I was faced with? And I used it to help me move forward and get me out of prison, quite frankly. And that was the opportunity to me. Okay, I didn't fake it, but the truth of the matter is it helped me, because I wouldn't have got out of prison otherwise. So I obviously knew that I wanted to better myself as well. So I did a lot of work on myself because I recognised my part in it all. And that obviously helped me move forward as well. So that was another opportunity. So you should always be open to change. Change is not a bad thing. It's not something to be scared of or fearful of. It happens to all of us. It's continually happening. So it's important that we embrace change. Be in the moment and aware of your thoughts that you're having. It's very important that we are in the moment, not overthinking everything, not fearing things that aren't happening, not worrying about things that we assume might happen or the stories that we create in our minds. It's important to be in that moment and accept what is. You can't change life. Life isn't happening to you. It just happens. So accept it. And consciously choose how you want to think, feel and act in every given moment. That gives you the opportunity to choose life as you want it to be. And acknowledge that your emotions and why you're actually having them. You create your emotions by what you tell yourself in any given circumstance. So remember that. So if you're feeling a way that you don't want to be feeling, you've got the power to change that. So by changing the way you think or your perspective of the situation. So if you're telling yourself things like everything's falling apart and there's nothing I can do about that to change that, then naturally that's going to make you feel drained. It's going to make you feel demotivated. Subsequently, you won't take action. You won't take anything no productive action, because you'll only either avoid taking action or take counterproductive action instead, like go out and get pissed or something like that. So on the other hand, if I'm telling myself something like I'm not a victim of my circumstances, I'm fully in control of how I respond to this situation, then how do you think that's going to make me feel? Then that way I'm going to feel much more motivated, I'm going to feel more confident and in control of the situation. As a result of feeling that way, my actions are going to be much more productive. It's all about how we see things, all about our perspectives of situations. So just to summarise here, increase your self-awareness, accept what is, make conscious choices and be adaptable and flexible to all change, and reframe your thoughts from problem perspective to opportunity perspective. Always be open to change, embrace it and look for new possibilities in every situation. And always remember to trust the process, as we are always a work in progress. Okay, so, and there's one more, and this is fundamentally important that you do this. Hire a coach, because a coach will keep you accountable to do this stuff. It's not easy doing it on your own, as you're probably aware, because you've been trying it for years on your own and not succeeded. We all do. That's why people hire coaches, so that you do succeed. All right. Have a great evening. I hope this has helped some people. And like I said, if you want to follow me, subscribe on YouTube, and I will talk to you all next time. See you soon. Bye.